So welcome to everybody. We are going to be doing the time and economics class. So here we go. What I'm going to show you is the types of things that we are going to be looking at. So here is, for example, the Time magazine. You can see 3 different Time magazines. This one was about Amanda Gorman. This one over here is, you can see President Biden getting inaugurated. And I'm sure you recognize the one on the left, COVID. So the other thing that we're going to be doing is some articles come from the Economist magazine. Here's an example of the Economist magazine. On the right, China-America relationship. The middle one is about Wall Street, and the one on the left is about President Biden. So what we like to do is we like to have a variety of articles. Things that I pick articles that I think students of your age would be interested in. So just let me give a little bit of introduction. My name is Joel. I worked in industry for a number of years in finance for large banks. I worked for a large bank and CIBC, and I've also worked in some other companies in the finance industry. I retired in the past 5 years, and since then I've been doing what I really like to do, which is teaching. Then been doing this kind of course and teaching some other subjects as well. It's been successful. The students have enjoyed this. So I would hope to continue with most of you in the next class. The way I present the class is I show an article, and then I have everyone gets a chance to read an article. So I'll pick a person, and I'll ask you to read the first paragraph. And after you read the first paragraph, we'll go over some of the words. Any words that may be difficult for you, I will help you with. So I will ask you what a word means. If you know what the word means, tell me. If you don't know what the word means, that's fine. No pressure. I will help you with the meaning of the word. Okay? It's meant to be interesting, fun, and mainly a learning experience. In addition, what I like to have is at the end of the class, we have homework. So we will show the homework at the beginning of the class, and then after we read the article, excuse me, at the end of the class. I post it on the site, and you have the next few days to do the homework. Next class, we'll review the homework. I'll pick a homework, one or two students to review their homework and show it to the class. Okay, so let us show you first the homework for this class. The homework is here, and it's a Word document. So the article is Schumpeter, is the name of the person who wrote the article, and it's called The Big McComeback. And you guys all know Mc, anything from McDonald's starts with a Mc. So here's the 5 questions. You won't know the answers right now, but after we read the article, you'll have learned. The first 4 questions are generally, our answers are right in the article. So all you have to do is review the article beforehand, after the class, and you'll know the answers pretty quickly. The 5th is usually where I ask for your opinion. So number 1, what are some of the things that McDonald's did to revive its business with its back to basics approach? 2, what is the basis of the McDonald's franchise model? 3, what are some of the recent heavy investments that McDonald's has made? 4, in what food areas are McDonald's behind in business compared to its competitors? So those 4 are pretty well right in the article. Number 5 is where I ask for your opinion. So some of the information is in the article, but I want to know what you think. Number 5, McDonald's plans to implement a loyalty program to expand sales. Do you think this would work for a business like McDonald's? Would you and your friends buy more from McDonald's if there was a loyalty program? Why or why not? You may have a feeling of what the answer is right now, but let's read the article. And then at that point, you will have formed an opinion. Okay, so I'm going to pick one person to read the first paragraph. I'm picking the names at random because I don't know you. And I'm going to ask you to read the first paragraph, and then we will discuss the concepts. So let me get the article out. Okay, so this is an article written by Schumpeter. Schumpeter is one of the main writers in the Economist magazine, and he's calling it the big McComeback. So McDonald's has made a comeback, and that's the nature of what this article is going to be about. How McDonald's had some financial challenges and it was having some difficulties, but when the new president took over, he made some improvements that helped the company. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So here we have a picture. Look at the picture. McDonald's. You recognize the big M and a bird flying away. Sometimes there's some sort of imaginative pictures that come about. And that's what he's done here. Okay. All right. So let us make it a little bigger to be sure that you can see it. All right. So I'm going to call upon you. And how about Victor? Can you read the first paragraph, please? Victor, can you unmute?
Okay.
Okay, read starting with Chris. Chris Kaminsky.
Chris Kaminsky is anything but surprised 1 year into his tenure. The CEO of McDonald's, England, framed 52-year-old who runs marathons. Hard to believe then that he eats a McDonald's meal twice a day, 5 days a week. There are days when I am indulgent and days when I'm careful about what I'm eating. But I eat a lot of McDonald's, he admits in an interview. Indeed, he puts many of his best customers to shame. On average, the top of 10% of Big Mac
Bingers
visit has restaurants a fifth as regularly as he does.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Okay, so now I'm just going to ask, we'll go through the paragraph. Chris Kaminsky. So he's the current president of McDonald's, and he's anything but supersized. So, you know, when you go to McDonald's, they talk about how you want to supersize that. You want to make a Big Mac. So supersize, meaning he's not supersized. He's small. He's lean, and he's 52-year-old, and he runs marathons. So, Victor, are you an athlete? Do you know what a marathon is? Victor, are you unmuted? Can you tell me what a marathon is?
Marathon is
Your volume is a bit low. Can you raise the volume?
marathon is maybe.
Okay, I can barely hear you, but it's a long run. It's we see marathons in the Olympics, and it's 26 kilometers. And people who like to get good exercise do marathons. So he does marathons very often. He runs marathons. Hard to believe he eats McDonald's twice a day, 5 days a week. That's pretty unbelievable that here he is, lean. So he's skinny, lean, he runs marathon, but yet he eats McDonald's twice a day, 5 days a week. That's not what we would think would be very healthy. There are days when I'm indulgent, right? So indulgent. Do you know what it means when you indulge in something, Victor?
No, I don't know about it.
Okay, I can hear you well now. Good, thank you. So indulge when you really want to eat something that you like. So for example, maybe some days you want ice cream, so you indulge in it. So what he's saying, there's days when he's indulgent, so he eats it what he likes, and other days he's careful about what he's eating. But he admitted in an interview, he puts his customers to shame, his best customers. So look at this statistic. On average, the top 10% of Big Mac bingers. So a binger is somebody who really likes to eat. If somebody likes to eat McDonald's, they're a binger. They binge on it. So on average, the top 10% of Big Mac bingers visit his restaurants a fifth as regularly as he does. So in other words, the top people, the people that go to McDonald's the most, they don't go as much as he does. So here's somebody who really likes his product, and he goes there regularly and eats McDonald's, and yet he is still skinny. Rather surprising, isn't it? Okay. Number 2, how about Jeremy? Jeremy, can you read the second paragraph here?
Perhaps he is making up for lost time. Unusually for a McDonald's boss, from the McDonald's boss, he is not a company lifer. He joined in 2015, hired by his predecessor, Steve Easterbrook. When McDonald's was on the verge of meltdown, it was floundering in its attempts to compete with innovation. American upstarts such as Chipotle and Shake Shack. Its premises were shabby, even as it offers hundreds of items on the menu that many of its customers could not afford. Critics call it a parasite on society.
So that's critics.
Critics called it a parasite on society, paying low wages and promoting
obesity.
Obesity. Mr.
Kemczynski
acknowledged that it suffered from hubris under Mr. Easterbrook, who took charge in 2015. The mission was to shake it out of its complacency.
Okay, good job, Jeremy, getting through. That was a challenging paragraph. We got a bunch of challenging words here, and I'm going to help you and explain some of them to you, and hopefully some of them you can tell me. So, unusually for a company boss, he's not a company lifer. Do you know what it means if somebody is a lifer? Do you know what that expression means, Jeremy?
No.
So a lifer, usually when people work for McDonald's, they start their way at the bottom. They flip the burgers, make the burgers, and then they serve the customers, and maybe eventually they become a store manager, and maybe then a district manager. Maybe eventually they'll become the president. Very few will do that. But that's what a company lifer is, somebody who started from the beginning and worked at McDonald's as a student and then became president. But it's unusual for him. His case, he was not a company lifer. He joined in 2015, hired by his predecessor, Steve Easterbrook. Do you know what a predecessor is, Jeremy? If you don't know, that's okay. Just tell me. So a predecessor is somebody who worked in the job before you. So Chris Kemczynski is currently the president. Steve Easterbrook was the president before him. So Steve Easterbrook is the predecessor. It's a common word in the English language, so you want to learn that one. When McDonald's was the urge of meltdown, so it was running a lot of difficulty. You know what a meltdown, you know, an earthquake comes and there's a meltdown. Often when a volcano comes, there's a meltdown. But this is a figurative, meaning it was having a lot of challenges. It was floundering, having a lot of problems. Sometimes you see a duck floundering in the water, it's having trouble. Well, the company was floundering. It was having difficulty competing with other companies such as Chipotle and Shake Shack. Have you ever heard of those companies, Chipotle and Shake Shack, Jeremy?
I heard about Chipotle.
Yeah. What do you get at Chipotle?
Mexican food.
Yeah, Mexican food, right. So here McDonald's was trying to compete with some of these upstarts, like a new company. Chipotle, Shake Shack. Its premises. Do you know what premises are, Jeremy?
Area.
Yeah, the area where the restaurant itself, the area where they were shabby. They were not very nice, old furniture. So McDonald's was going downhill. They weren't offering good things. But also it offered hundreds of items on the menu that many customers could not afford. So their menu item was not very cleverly designed. Critics, do you know what a critic is, Jeremy?
No.
So a critic, you know, when you criticize someone who criticized someone would be a critic. They called it a parasite on society. The word parasite, have you heard that word? When an animal is a parasite, what does that mean, Jeremy? Have you heard the word parasite spoken of an animal being parasite?
Well, it's kind of like a bug.
Yeah, it could be a bug. That's right. That is eating something else. It feeds on some other animal. You say it's a parasite. So you see an animal feeding on the skin of something, that would be a parasite. That's the literal interpretation of parasite. But there's a figurative interpretation when you say its premises here, critics called it a parasite, meaning it was like eating on society. They were paying low wages. They were promoting obesity. So people were getting fat and overweight. So that's why McDonald's there was a negative feeling about McDonald's, say about 10 years ago. And it suffered from hubris. Hubris is a word that means, they just thought they were so good and they weren't so good. So that was it. They had complacency. They think they're so good. Kind of means the same thing. They had to be shaken out of their complacency. Okay, thank you for reading that, Jeremy. We had a lot of challenging words in there, but you made it through. Good. Okay, how about Maya? Maya, can you read the next paragraph?
Okay. What followed was a lesson in corporate renewal that could have made Mr. Easterbrook a megastar CEO had he not been fired last year for having a consensual relationship with an employee. McDonald's has recently sued him for allegedly concealing other sexual relationships and wants to recover a big payoff. Yet, sensibly, Mr. Kempczynski is sticking to the program. Unlike many new bosses overeager to tear up the legacy of their disgraced predecessors, he unveiled a new strategy on November 9th that builds on the work started in recent years. In the midst of a pandemic, it offers a valuable lesson of its own. Never let a crisis go to waste.
Yes, never let a crisis go to waste. So make it beneficial in the long run. So a lesson in corporate renewal. So corporate renewal means making the company more successful. It has a challenge and it needs to renew itself. It needs to be more successful. So what they're saying here, Mr. Easterbrook, that's the predecessor, the president who was before him, he could have been a megastar CEO. What does that mean if you're a megastar, Maya?
Like a megastar, like you're a star, basically, like a
kind of just what it sounds like. Mega is big, star. Usually you think of actors or athletes as megastars, but he could have been a big star as a CEO, as a chief executive officer, CEO, chief executive officer. Unfortunately, he was fired because of inappropriate relationship with one of his employees. Sadly, that happens too much these days. But Mr. Kempczynski is sticking to the program. What do you think that means, sticking to the program, Maya?
I think that means like he's following the rules, like he's sticking to the program.
Yeah, following the rules and regulations and the ideas that McDonald's should be doing. Often it says, unlike many bosses, overeager to tear up the legacy. What's a legacy, Maya?
I don't know how to describe it, but like legacy is like, I don't know how to describe it though, but
that's okay. I'll help you with it because I think you probably know what it is, just to put it into words. So a legacy, when you have a really famous person and they've done something great, you call it their legacy, right? So for example, in the United States, Martin Luther King had the legacy of doing a lot for Black people. Hank Aaron was a baseball player. He has a legacy of doing something really great in baseball. Legacy is usually something somebody's done really good. It may be something bad, though. In this case, he's saying that the predecessor, Mr. Easterbrook, he was disgraced. What does that mean if somebody is disgraced, Maya?
Like of their disgraced, like bad, like having a bad legacy, I guess.
Yeah. He did some bad things, and clearly Mr. Easterbrook did some bad things. And often, what happened is a new person comes in. They're overeager. They really want to tear up the legacy of their disgraced predecessors. So often a president will come in and he'll say, oh, that president, he was bad, I'm going to do better. But he didn't do that. Mr. Kaczynski came in and he didn't want to talk about bad things Mr. Easterbrook did. He said he's going to unveil a new strategy. What does that mean when you unveil a new strategy?
Unveil, and it's like figurative, but like I think the literal meaning is like to take off something so it can be like shown, I guess.
Yeah, you're thinking of the literal meaning. When you unveil something, it means you unveil a statue, you open it up and you say, here's the statue. That's the literal meaning. Figuratively, it means you're unveiling a new strategy, you're showing a new strategy. He says, I'm going to do something different with McDonald's. He's unveiling a new strategy. Okay, thank you, Maya. Let's move on. And let's go with Gino. Starting here.
The seeds of revival of McDonald's started with a simple decision that's surprisingly easy to get wrong. Go back to the basics. From 2015 onwards, it pared back its array menu offerings and focused on price and quality. It is recommitted to Ray Kroc's beloved business model, increasing the share of franchises from last year to 93% of almost 39,000 restaurants, up to 82% in 2015. That provided it a higher margin and steadier royalty and rental income. It streamlined its sprawling international operations, selling control of its restaurants in China and Hong Kong.
Okay, good. Hold it there, Gino. Before we move to the top of the page, let's just talk about what we have here. So what he wanted to do is he wanted to go back to basics. What does that usually mean when you say go back to basics?
Start all over.
Start all over with the things that you did well, things that you did before. Back to the basic things. Don't get too complicated. Go back to the basic things. So it pared back its array of menuing offerings. What do you think that means if it pared it back? Pared back its menu offerings.
Make it less?
Make it less, yeah. Pared back. When you pare something back, you make it less. So they had too many menu offerings, too many things on the menu. They want to focus on price and quality. Now, do you know who Ray Kroc was? Do you know? Have you heard that name?
No.
So Ray Kroc was the founder of McDonald's. Way back around the 1950s, Ray Kroc went into a restaurant owned by the McDonald's brothers. Two brothers they were both, their last name was McDonald. And he liked what he saw there. And he said, I'd like to buy that restaurant from you. And the McDonald's brothers thought about it. And they said, okay, we'll sell it to you. So Ray Kroc bought one McDonald's restaurant and he made it into the vast empire that it is today. So what the new president now, Chris Kaczynski, wants to do, he wanted to be recommitted to Kroc's business model. Recommitted mean let's start doing it again. Let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to what Ray Kroc was doing. Increase franchises, the share of franchises. He wants higher margin. What does that mean when you want higher margin, Gina?
More, a
More,
bigger amount.
yeah, a bigger amount of profit. So margin is the difference between your cost and your price. So it costs you a certain amount for your product and you sell it for a certain amount. The difference is your margin. So he wants higher margin and steadier royalty. So royalties is what the individual McDonald's franchisees pay. So a McDonald's store will pay to the head office a certain amount of money based on their sales. That's what's called royalties. So he wanted a better business model, a better way to make money. It streamlined its international operations. What does it mean when you streamline something? Gino, have you heard the word streamline?
Make it sleek.
Yeah, make it sleek, make it more smooth. Make it more smooth. It's sprawling international operations. So it's sprawling all over the world. You need to be more efficient in what he had there. Okay, so let's continue on. You said the results were, and let's move to the top and you can finish that paragraph over here. The results were
Impressive. Across McDonald's sales exceeded 100 billion last year. Its operating margin, thinner than a frazzled patty in the most of the restaurant industry, grew to 43%, and its share price sizzled. Since 2015, its market value has almost doubled to 160 billion.
Yeah, 160. So its sales exceeded to 100 billion, and its operation margins were thinner than a frazzled patty. So frazzled means it's like really thin. So its margins were very thin. So it wasn't making a lot of profit on every hamburger. So it would need to sell a lot, right? So first it was very thin, and then it ballooned to 43%. What does that mean if the margins ballooned? What does that mean?
Does it mean that it grew?
It grew. So when you think of a balloon, when you blow up a balloon, you think of it as growing, it grow. So that's what you mean when you say profits ballooned or margin ballooned. It means it grew. Yes, it became very big. Okay, thank you, Gino. William, are you there? Can you do the next paragraph, William?
Sure.
As it.
Do I just start?
Yeah, start from as it.
Okay. As it recovered from its financial footing, it turned to investing in the future. But counterintuitively, it probably benefited by not rushing. According to John Gordon, a San Diego-based restaurant consultant, its franchisee model makes it hard to move fast, and it's important to build consensus. It tests new ideas out in local markets before suggesting them to franchisees worldwide. Its ownership of the land under franchisees' restaurants gives it a joint interest with them in co-investing in refurbishments and technological upgrades. Not only does this help woo customers by reinforcing the brand, it also supports the value of the land. In recent years, McDonald's and its franchisees have invested heavily in installing kiosks for touchscreen ordering and making other improvements, such as two-lane drive-thrus. Last year, the company made its biggest acquisition in years, buying a tech firm that helps personalize the drive-thru experience. The overhauls may have cost franchisees a lot, but over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic, they have started to reap the benefits.
Okay, William. So let's look at this. So it recovered its financial footing. So the finances became a little better, and it started to invest in the future. So it wanted to invest in the future. But counterintuitively, what does that mean when you say something is counterintuitive?
So like when you're trying to, for example, you're trying to improve something, instead of improving it, you made it worse.
Yeah, Counterintuitively means it does something the opposite of what you would have thought. Yes. So it recovered its financial footing. So it decided it was going to invest in the future. So somebody might think, oh, we got to do it quickly. But it benefited by not rushing. So that's kind of counterintuitive. You want to think, oh, they got to do it quickly. But no. They benefited by not rushing. So this John Gordon, he's a consultant, and he feels it's important to build consensus. What does that mean when you have consensus, William?
I think it means like an agreement.
An agreement. So if ever you're working in a group, let's say at school, you're working in a group and you're doing a project and you want to figure out what you got to do. You want to get agreement of what project you should work on, what your format should be. You want consensus. So maybe you have 5 people in your group. You have to get consensus to agree what you want to do. In this case, they wanted consensus for what direction they should do. What they should do next. So what does McDonald's do? It tests new ideas in local markets. Often you'll see that. They might go to a small city, like for example, often a product might be tested, let's say in Sudbury. So they'll try it out in that small market, see how it works, and then if it works, then they'll put it nationally. So that's what McDonald's and a lot of large companies do. Tim Hortons does that, McDonald's does that, test new ideas in local markets. Then once they see it works, they send it out nationally. If it doesn't work, maybe they'll make changes and test it again. Then they'll suggest it nationally to franchisees worldwide. So because the head office owns part of these franchisees' restaurants, they have a joint interest in, so they co-invest in refurbishments. Do you know what a refurbishment is, William?
I think a refurbishment is like maybe like upgrading or instead of like replacing an old thing, maybe.
Yeah, you got it. Refurbishment. When you refurbish the place, you're putting in improvements. It might be the furniture, it might be the computers. Here refurbishments is mainly referring to the facilities because it says technological upgrades. So that's more the technology upgrades, which are kind of the refurbishments technology-wise. It wants to woo customers. What does that mean if you want to woo customers?
I think it means like trying to impress them and like make them want to do something.
Yeah, that's it. You want to woo customers. You want to get them to come to buy your products. So you want to put good incentives for them to come. Maybe good food. That would be the best thing for McDonald's, right? They need that to reinforce the brand, to get people thinking, oh, McDonald's, I see it everywhere. I want to go eat there. So that helps woo the customers. So what have they done recently? You may have seen if you go to McDonald's, especially during the pandemic, I noticed that a lot of this, they installed kiosks for touchscreen ordering. We saw that before the pandemic, but even now we're seeing it even more because, to have people not have to meet the person to order, they can order by touchscreen. So that's been a common thing. 2-lane drive-throughs, I've seen that a lot in the McDonald's near me, where more people can go through, especially during the pandemic. More people are driving through, so you need 2-lane drive-throughs. But last year, it made its biggest acquisition. What's an acquisition?
Acquisition might be like achievement, maybe.
So in this case, an acquisition, normally acquisition would mean something you buy. So if you buy a product, you acquire it. In this case, when we're talking about a company, an acquisition means it's buying another company. So it made its biggest acquisition buying a tech firm that helps personalize the drive-through experience. So they want the drive-through experience to be more personal. So they got this tech company to help them to write the software, to make it more efficient. These overhauls, so these changes, these major changes cost a lot, but in the long run, they're hoping to reap the benefits. What does that mean if you reap the benefits?
Reaping the benefits means like you're taking it or like you're getting it.
You're getting it. Yeah, you're reaping the benefits, you're getting the benefits. When you reap, we often talk about a farmer reaping the benefits of his crop. When the crop grows, he reaps the benefit. In this case, McDonald's is reaping the benefits. They're going to get more profits from all of these changes that they've done. Okay, thank you, William. Okay, let's go with Sebastian. You there, Sebastian? I can't see everyone on screen, so I don't know. Sebastian, are you there? Okay, maybe Sebastian's not there. All right, we'll move on. Okay, so let's highlight this, and we'll go on to another person. Starting from here. Okay, Austin, can you read "That is because"? Austin, have you unmuted?
That is because McDonald's has used the crisis to step up in the pace. To step up in the pace of its transformation, resulting in big sales surges in recent months, especially in America, with the interiors of many of its restaurants closed. It has relied on the rollout of its digital drive-through and delivery initiatives, all of which encourage a more contactless experience that believes will outlast the pandemic, recalling Croc's aphorism that we're not in the hamburger business, we're in the show business. It has dazzled customers with customized menus by superstar rappers such as Travis Scott, and has made old favorites such as Big Macs and Quarter Pounders central to its menu, which adds to simplicity in the kitchen and speeds up customer service. Over the next 2 years, it hopes a long-awaited digital loyalty program will enhance sales growth and maintain margins at their elevated levels of 2019. With a COVID vaccine, it could do even better.
Okay, thanks, Austin. So let's look at this. They want a contactless experience. So you don't want to have to contact people. We're learning all about that during COVID. We want to not have to touch things. So contactless experience. Croc's aphorism. So that's something that he says, like a motto. Remember Ray Kroc, the one that found McDonald's from the two McDonald's brothers? He said, we're not in the hamburger business, we're in show business. What do you think he meant by that, Austin?
Like they're trying to show who they are.
Yeah, they're trying to impress people. You know, show business is meaning impress people, like make it like a show. So when you go to McDonald's, they want it to be like a show, not just hamburgers, but they have the kids' place where the kids can come in and play with the balls. They want to impress people. So that's what Ray Kroc said. We're not in the hamburger business, we're in show business. So now they want to take their products like the Big Macs and the Quarter Pounders, the simple things, and make those successful. They're also hoping for a digital loyalty program. Do you know of any digital loyalty programs, Austin? Have you heard of that? Do you know of any loyalty programs? You ever heard of Air Miles?
Yes.
Yeah, so that would be an example of a loyalty program. You go there, you go to Sobeys or you go to Shell, and you get Air Miles, and that makes some people come back. They like getting rewards, so they come back. So that's what McDonald's is thinking about. Okay. All right. So not much time left. Okay. How about Maya? How about you read this paragraph, Maya?
Okay. Many challenges remain for Mr. Kempczynski. On food, McDonald's is a laggard when it comes to chicken sandwiches and plant-based products. It promises a crispy chicken sandwich and non-meat McPlant soon. The former is vital to catch up with competitors such as Chick-fil-A. The company says it is shifting marketing away from sales drives towards promoting itself as a community-focused brand, but not everyone likes the pious tone. Social injustice warriors are now running McDonald's corporation. Stuff that has nothing to do with selling Big Macs. It says one franchise, is that how you pronounce
One
it?
franchisee. So somebody
Oh,
who has a franchise would be a franchisee.
Okay. Says one franchisee quoted in an analyst's report. McDonald's faces 2 lawsuits from former and current Black franchisees alleging racial discrimination by pushing them into poor areas. It refutes the accusations.
Okay, good. So on food, McDonald's is a laggard. Do you know what a laggard means, Maya?
I don't really know what it means, but it sounds like it has like some like negative connotation to
You are
it.
correct. Yeah, it means it's behind. So it's a laggard when it comes to chicken sandwich and plant-based products. They do McDonald's burgers, but not so much in chicken. So they're behind. They want to be like crispy chicken sandwich, McPlant. They're behind on that. They have to catch up. But the other thing they have there in the US, there's some Black people who owned McDonald's franchise, and they say there's been racial discrimination. They pushed them into poor areas, and so they couldn't make money. So the people who own those franchises were not happy. But McDonald's refutes the accusation. It rejects them. It says, no, we didn't do it. So there's lawsuits from that. Okay, we're a little on time. I'm going to read the last paragraph. From Big Macs to big data. Okay, let's highlight that. It's ubiquity. When something has ubiquity, it means it's everywhere. You go down the street, you go down 3 blocks, you're probably going to see 3 McDonald's. Its ubiquity means McDonald's is often in the news for the wrong reasons. But as a corporate turnaround, so it's turned around. It's had challenges, but it has turned around. It's a compelling story, a story that we all want to hear. This is the kind of story they write books about. Instead of suffering from a tech onslaught, as many bricks and mortar chains have, when somebody says something is bricks and mortars, it means it's like a store you can go in, bricks and mortars, as opposed to internet is online. The opposite of online would be bricks and mortars, like the corner store, your grocery store, your restaurant. They're all bricks and mortar. It's turned itself into a digital pioneer. So it's online. It's a pioneer, one of the first to go online. It's digital. Instead of hunkering down meaning just be quiet, don't do anything during the pandemic, it has embraced new ways of doing business. Despite Mr. Kaminsky's baptism of fire, so it's been a challenging year. He's been baptized like being on fire. It's been challenging. Even the leadership transmission has been the best in the industry has seen in years, says Sarah Sentinor of Bernstein, an investment firm. He should not be harshly judged for his frequency at the lunch counter. So far, he's earned all the quarter pounders he can eat. So that's kind of a little funny way of saying, he likes to eat his Big Macs and his quarter pounders, and he's certainly earned what he has. Okay, so, all right. So let's, can you tell me, I would just like to get a little feedback from you in terms of, Austin, can you tell me one thing that you liked or learned from this article?
I learned about the background of McDonald's.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the background of McDonald's. Okay, good. Maya, one thing you liked or learned?
I learned that McDonald's is like lacking in like chicken related stuff.
Mm-hmm. Lacking chicken, and that's where they want to move on and they want to be able to grow. Yes. Okay, William, can you tell me one thing that you liked or one thing that you learned from this?
Like for the reading or the actual?
Well, anything from this reading experience.
I think I'm like the most was the amount of vocabulary used. There was a bunch of words that I knew that I could recognize that made sense, but there's also like new ones that I learned too.
Okay, the vocabulary. Okay, good. I'm glad you brought that up because that's the whole idea behind this, why we do this course. Some of the words are going to be very complicated and some of the words are relatively simple. And you'll notice what I did with each of you. I had you read the paragraph and then we talked about some of the words. If I thought it was a word you probably didn't know, then I just explained it. But if I thought you might know it, then I asked you, what did it mean? And most of the time, you guys were able to tell me what it means. But if you don't know, that's fine. I'll explain it. It's not intended to be high pressure. It's intended to have fun. And I like your comment, William. You saw a lot of vocabulary words, and it sounds like you learned a lot. And that's the whole idea, to try to learn what you can from it. So let us share the homework. Now that you've read the article, you'll notice that most of these, the first 4 are going to be right from the article. What are some of the things that McDonald's did to revive its business with its back to basics approach? Right in the article. 2, what is the basis of the McDonald's franchise model? 3, what are some of the recent heavy investments that McDonald's has made? So we talked about some of those investments, right? We talked about things that they have spent money to do to improve their operations. And that's right near the end of the article. So just look at that page and you'll be able to see it. Number 4, in what food areas are McDonald's behind its business compared to its competitors? So we just kind of talked about that there's some areas that they're strong in, some areas that they're not so strong in. And what McDonald's wants to try to do is to become stronger in those areas. Now, it has to be careful. Like we said, at the beginning of the article, we talked about how they kind of moved too fast and they tried to grow too quickly. They grew very quickly. When I was young, I used to go down to the United States, and I would see signs like over 1 million served, and then it would say over 5 billion served, over 10 billion served, over 50 million served, and then eventually it became billions and billions served. That's how McDonald's grew. It just grew so big so quickly, and it was successful. But more recently, like in the early 2000s, it had some challenges. So it had to come back, not grow so quickly, and that's what Chris Kempczynski is trying to do, to try to find the right rate of growth. What should it do? Don't grow too quickly in areas that they can't be strong in, but find areas that they can be strong in. So that's the nature of this question number 4. In what food areas are they behind compared to its competitors? So those would be places they could grow. And finally, McDonald's plans to implement a loyalty program to expand sales. Do you think this would work for a business like McDonald's? Would you and your friends buy more from McDonald's if there was a loyalty program? Why or why not? So that's a question for you guys to think of. Gee, would you buy more from McDonald's if there was a loyalty program? If you could get like air miles or some kind of incentive or a card, buy 5 hamburgers, get 1 free, something like that. Would that change your opinion and get you to go there more? That's the question for you to ask. Okay, so are there any questions about the article? Something that wasn't clear? Again, this is just a trial class, so the homework is just to give you an idea of what the homework would be like. But typically after each class, we would post the homework on the website, on the Google Drive, and you would have a few days to do the homework. I would mark it, and then I would show the homework at the next class and get a volunteer to discuss it. Somebody who maybe did a better job in it, I'd get them to read their answers and we would discuss it. So that's the idea. Okay. So did you guys like that? Yeah, I see some nodding heads. Okay, Maya, thank you for nodding your head. I can't see from the others. Maybe a thumbs up, or any questions you'd like to ask about it?